smart, very smart. He has an IQ.
Herbert Hoover, 31st President of the United States, said, "The whole inspiration of our civilization springs from the teachings of Christ and the lessons of the prophets. To read the Bible for these fundamentals is a necessity of American life."
It's really quite simple.
This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
Going to have flashback now. This is Wretched Radio, and this could be really awful. I do remember the day. It must have been, well, now I guess it doesn't sound like I remember the day, does it? Make it a definitive statement like that. It was back in the days. Joey, you'll remember this. Do you remember that radio station you and I both used to work at? Tony was there, too. It was what was that? KKK? No? KKMS. This goes back many years. If you recall, John MacArthur, many years ago, the subject of Christian yoga started to hit a little bit. And John MacArthur, he went on to Larry King, and he debated a guy named Doug Padgett, and that was just a smackdown. And there was a little bit of buzz generated from John MacArthur being critical of Christian yoga. Well, it has not been until recently that Christian yoga has again made the news simply because Al Mohler, the president of the Southern Baptist Seminary, he wrote an article saying there's no such thing as Christian yoga. For some reason, it is caught. And article after article after article has been showing up, quoting not John MacArthur, but Al Mohler saying this high-profile Christian thinks that yoga's bad. I shared with you that the New York Times reported about a new group of Hindus that are trying to get yoga back. They've got a campaign called Take Back Yoga because they think that it has been ripped off by other religions and it is a Hindu practice. Well, we would like to take you back to the days of KKMS, and this could be just horrifying, frankly. But nonetheless, we're going to share this with you. My interview with a fellow named Swami. He was a Swami. How we love him. Param from New Jersey. Remember, this is not a guy who's a Christian. So for those of you who think that Christian yoga is just fine, this is an Indian Swami from New Jersey.
Well, first and foremost, you have to realize that every word that's used, yoga, mantra, karma, guru, swami, etc., these are all Sanskrit terms. And simply look up that word. Sanskrit is defined as the ancient, noble language of the Hindus. It is a religious language. So every Sanskrit word that's used is giving credence to the Hindu religion by definition.
All right, so but just because I'm using a Hindu word, a Sanskrit word, can I, in your opinion, can I use it without having any Hindu associations connected to it?
Not at all, because that's what it is. Again, all one has to do is simply look up these words. The word yoga, a Sanskrit word, means union of Atman, the individual soul, with Brahman, the greater soul. That is yoga.
All right. Now, let's establish what some of these terms are. Tell everybody what Brahman is.
Brahman is a Sanskrit word for the greater soul of love, light, and energy.
And
it's not a being, it's a force of love and light and energy. And that is the intent of all the yogas, is for the individual to merge into their Atma or soul of love, light, and energy, and then to become absorbed in the greater soul of love, light, and energy, which we Hindus call Brahman. Again, not a person, a force.
Do Hindus pray to Brahman?
They do not.
Okay. And so
they focus on this force of love, light, and energy. Again, Brahman is not a personal deity.
But
though Hindus have many personal deities, which people may not know that when they do a hatha yoga, that's the proper terminology, a hatha yoga class, they are focusing on Hindu deities.
But I'm just doing it for exercise.
Yes, and I'm just doing baptism for underwater exercise. Or communion, wine tasting.
Would I be close to stating that yoga is the, if you will, the means of salvation for the Hindu? It is the
Hindu lifestyle, the various yogas. Again, yoga is union of Atman with Brahman. The many yogas achieve that process. Karma yoga, ethics, bhakti yoga, devotion, Hatha yoga, that's the one that everybody's doing, though they don't say hatha. Worshipful postures is what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Raja yoga, meditation, and jnana yoga, or enlightenment.
Did he say Yanni yoga? You know, I think I know what that kind of yoga is. That's where you play really saccharine-like music, and then you fling your hair over your head like that a bunch of times. I think that's what Yanni yoga is.
All right, but how's about this, Swami Param? How's about if I am doing my Hatha yoga to not connect my Atman to the Brahman, but to connect my spirit to Jesus Christ?
Wouldn't work.
Why not?
Well, because Christianity and Hinduism are totally different religions.
But in my mind,
there is no Jesus Christ. There's no Jesus Christ in Hinduism or yoga.
But in my mind, I'm using it to be closer to my deity.
Well, a lot of people do that, but in my opinion, that's a very shallow individual. That's a shallow Christian.
Ow.
Because
they should be adhering to their own Christian principles.
Ow.
It's wonderful to learn and study about different religions, and we should do that and respect them. But we cross the line when we start to mix these up.
Where'd you get this is you know how many churches practice yoga? There's a lot of them. They're actually getting a smackdown from a Swami from New Jersey.
But can I not learn from a different religious worldview and apply it? I'm not thinking Brahman. I'm thinking Jesus. Therefore, it's okay.
Okay, then pray to Jesus. Do Hail Marys or whatever. But if you're doing yoga, you're doing Hinduism.
I'm trying here, man. All
That's
right.
respect for the different religious traditions, and we should foster that.
And tell if you would be so kind. Again, the Atman is the individual soul. The Brahman is the force that ultimately you want your Atman to be connected to or become a part of.
Exactly.
And then explain to everybody, Swami Param from New Jersey, classicalyoga.org, what is reincarnation to you?
Reincarnation is the soul coming back in another body, in another life.
Mm-hmm.
We are the soul in Hinduism. We understand that, and we take on one body after another. Again, big difference. Christianity, no reincarnation for anybody but Jesus, I suppose.
Didn't appreciate that chuckle.
But in Hinduism, that is a principal tenet. We're all coming back as a soul and inhabiting body after body.
Okay, but I've heard this said many, many times, sir, that people will say that Hindus and Buddhists, they have no problem with Christians, doing their own practices, no big deal to the Buddhist or to the Hindu. You're not.
I would call them shallow Hindus, shallow Buddhists. People should also know that Buddhism comes right from Hinduism, because Buddhism is very popular today as well.
Mm-hmm. And can you define for everybody the distinction between Buddhism and Hinduism?
Well, that's an interesting parallel. It's very much like Christianity and Judaism. Yeshua, the Jewish rabbi, became Jesus, the head of Christianity. Buddha, who was a Hindu, became the one adored by followers, hence Buddhism. But Buddha was first and foremost a Hindu, and Buddhism is essentially Hinduism.
Are there any major differences between the two?
Not really. No, they're very much the same, because the Buddhists use all the Sanskrit of the Hindus. They use various yoga practices.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest difference is the main focus on the Buddha, which Hindus revere, but it's not the main focus.
Mm-hmm. Now,
again, like Judaism and Christianity, obviously Jews primarily do not focus on Jesus, but Christians focus only on Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Now, why in Hinduism, my understanding is in India there are as many as 300 million carved Hindu idols. Why is that, sir?
Well, we have many, many different images. Idol sometimes is a word that is a little bit misunderstood. An idol is any kind of an image.
Mm-hmm.
And we use these various images as symbolic references for qualities that we wish to attain.
Do individuals, when they have such a carving in their home, do they worship it? Why do they bow before it?
They do, yes. And here's something interesting. The word worship means to respect and revere. So we revere the object itself, just as taking care of anything. But it's more the symbolism of the object that we're really focusing upon. not unlike a picture. If you have a picture of a loved one that you haven't seen, it can bring tears to your eyes. You're not actually worshiping the Kodak photo, but what it stands for and who it represents to you, and the feelings that you have for it.
We're on the telephone right now with Swami Param from...
It's just as we take a break from me. Well, I think I'm looking right now in Hosea. It's also in Isaiah, and it's also in Jeremiah. Some of the most sarcastic writings anywhere. But there was also a section in Hosea. We're making our way through that at home. I'm telling you, go through Hosea again. How God feels when his people don't obey. They play the part of the prostitute. But I believe it was inside of Hosea where God is scolding the priests. And one of the things that he scolds the priests for and the people for is that they are basically, and this isn't me being a little hyperbolic, but this is the way the Bible describes it. These people are being stupid because they ask a stick for its opinion. They ask a stick for a miracle. You're not going to get a miracle from a stick. You're not going to get it from a carved out image. In Isaiah and Jeremiah, how it describes, people take a piece of wood, they carve it out, they have to carry their God to the mantle or to the altar because the God can't even get himself there. And then you take the wood that's left over to make a fire to make your sandwich with it. You're just not wise. You're delusional. And that's exactly what is going on in Hinduism. These poor people that are under this very oppressive system, this terrible system that keeps them in poverty because you can't wreck the caste system there. They are worshiping a stick. Let's go back to the Swami.
Has a carved image like that. Is it because is Hinduism a pantheistic belief that the Brahman or the force is in everything in nature?
Yes, but I wouldn't use pantheistic. I would use polymorphic because there really is no theos in Hinduism.
Understood. Okay,
theos is God.
All right. I would like
there is no God in Hinduism.
Two more terms that I would like for you to define.
That always gets me. There is no God, and yet we carve one out and put. Maybe it makes sense. It must make sense to them somehow. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Now I want to get back to yoga, sir. Explain to everybody what is karma and what is dharma.
Well, karma is the law of cause and effect. Give a smile, get a smile. Give a frown, get a frown. That is karma. Dharma is the Sanskrit word that we use that could be synonymous for religion. It essentially means religious law. Hindu dharma means Hindu religion or system of worship.
Okay. Are there any other major words that would be beneficial to our mostly Christian audience in understanding Hinduism?
Well, guru, that's used all the time. We have Wall Street gurus, we have finance gurus, we have fitness gurus. Imagine the outcry if we had Wall Street rabbis, fitness bishops, et cetera, et cetera.
You know what?
Guru is a Hindu of a high order teacher.
Isn't that funny? And what he's upset about is we've taken his words, his concepts, and we basically hijacked them as if, hey, who cares? So first of all, Christian yoga starts out by disrespecting another religion because we can just take it and do whatever we want to do with it. That's pretty thoughtless. And it's also thoughtless that we think that we can participate in the salvific activity of another world religion. Because if there is a force in Hinduism, and there's only two forces out there that we can't see. There's God, he's the big force, and there's the devil. Those are the only two forces. And if they don't have a deity, and apparently they don't, they're not getting their force from God. And for us to participate in it means that we are participating with the devil. This is Wretched Radio.
You've been listening to an edited version of Wretched Radio. If you'd like to hear the daily 2-hour broadcast and watch Todd sweat as he does the daily radio show and watch Wretched TV, plus a bunch of other cool stuff, visit wretchedradio.com.